All right. Sorry about that. I accidentally closed my window. Well, I closed all my windows by accident. Sorry about that. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Now, I invited some people to this live stream. Sorry about that. Yeah, I accidentally I closed the wrong window. Closed the wrong window and I closed everything. So I had to log back on. How we sound? Are we good? Are we live? Okay. We should be 42 seconds in. 42 seconds in. Hope y'all doing all right today. Now, I'm going to respond to a sheriff. A sheriff. So I got to be on my best behavior. Now, for those of you who don't know, there was a guy who stabbed a dog to death. And I think it was around Halloween. I know he was arrested on Halloween. And this sheriff is going to give you the details of what happened. Now, pay close attention to this.
We're going to start with our graphic of viewer discretion advice. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Let me know when I'm ready
I'll
to
put
go.
up again for the video.
Okay. Let me fast forward a little bit. Wait a minute.
Good?
Yeah, we're up. We're set.
My name is Cris Swanson, the Sheriff of Genesee County. I'm bringing you some very heavy content in a very disturbing video where viewer discretion is advised. We have done this before because of the content of the video, and we're doing it again because even as a veteran cop, and I had warned the media before that this short ring cam surveillance video with no sound is brutal. It involves the murder of a 3-year-old pit bull named Coco by this offender, who's got an extremely violent history that I'm going to get to, and it included a violent encounter here at the county jail just Monday this week. After he murdered a dog, stabbed it 20 times, it wasn't his dog. He went on the run, came into our lobby, and I'm going to show you what happened in the lobby.
Okay. Are y'all following so far? I'm going to respond to this. I'm going to play a little bit and respond to it. This has to be a response video in that format according to YouTube policy. Okay. So this guy stabbed a dog to death. He stabbed a pit bull to death.
When I'm done with that story, I'm going to end with the story here. Johnson, the offender, also tortured a dog and left it for dead by tightening the collar so tight that within one day, the dog would have had his carotid artery severed and it would have bled to death.
Now, both of these dogs, perhaps coincidentally, happen to be pit bulls. Okay?
The point I'm making with these photos and these videos is one I've made for years. There is a direct connect between those that abuse, torture, neglect, and fight animals to those that do the same thing to humans.
Now, this has been said for decades, if I'm not mistaken, decades by now. Most of you have heard about this. That usually when people are physically violent with other people, they're also violent with animals, which sounds fitting. People who use physical violence, they usually don't care if it's a human or an animal or a pet or a dog, cat, whatever. These people just get violent and lash out. So there's no surprise there. Okay?
Children, to the vulnerable.
Okay? And he pointed out that these types of people are often violent towards children. So he's worried about the children. Okay?
When you have that violent act against a companion animal, there are stats and studies, and we have seen it live, that they are eventually, if not already, doing it to an individual. We see that 6 out of 10 mass shooters, active shooters, have a history of torturing animals.
This is also true. The guy in the Uvalde shooting, wasn't that Uvalde where they said that he had a history of killing, I forgot what types of animals he was killing. Jeffrey Dahmer practiced first on animals. This has all been well known for a long time. Now, to me, I don't think it's that big of a surprise. I don't think it's that big of a deal. You know, we all knew this. It makes sense. My concern is, what is this all about? Is this really about the dogs? What is this about? Listen.
And we say this because when you see animal abuse and neglect, even though the penalties are not nearly as high as they need to be, that there has to be a...
There you go. There you go. So the push, at least from what I can gather, is there's a push for stronger penalties against animal abuse. Stronger penalties against animal abuse. Okay? That's the moral of the story, in my opinion.
Accountability. And I'm taking that charge. Even as a sheriff of Genesee County, I'm taking that. And we're going to hold people accountable. I can't impact the laws or I can't impact sentencing, but I will tell you that based on today, and more will come, that I'm going to do something about the accountability to those that are charged and convicted with animal abuse, neglect, torture, starvation of animals, to hold them accountable. Because we have not done that. But let me tell you the story.
He said we've not done that. Now, I don't know what that means. As far as I'm aware, I think you can get like up to 5 years in prison, right? For, what is it, 3rd degree animal abuse? Right? If I'm not mistaken, up to 5 years in prison. 3rd degree, in the 3rd degree. Okay. Okay, what is this? 36 months? I don't know. I think you can get up to 5 years. I'm just not doing the right type of search. But people are getting penalized harshly. I mean, years. You don't see the parents of dog attack victims getting any time. Okay, but let's finish.
Terry Lewis Key II gets into a domestic victim violent encounter and believes, because of this domestic, that his neighbor across the street in the city of Flint, in our Operation Arrowhead district, is responsible for the violent encounter with a third-party domestic victim. So he goes across the street.
Now, he might have lost some of you right there. He lost me the first time I listened to it. I had to rewind it, listen to it again. This guy in the photo that he held up got into it, beat his girlfriend. This is the case. Beat his girlfriend, and then he thought the altercation with his girlfriend was started by the girl across the street with the pit bull. So he went across the street after beating up his girlfriend to confront who he thought was the cause of this dispute.
The 26th of October, and he tries to get contact with what he believes is the one who made this domestic situation happen, and she wasn't there. But what was there was her 3-year-old dog, who was on a leash, outside, completely innocent of everything that was happening. So what did he do? He takes out a knife, he picks the dog up with the leash, and he stabs the dog 20 times. This is that surveillance video. Again, I warn you, it's graphic.
I'm not going to show that. I'm not going to show that. You can find this video on YouTube and you can watch it yourself. But this guy he's talking about is clearly mentally ill. The man is a complete lunatic. Listen, if you don't believe me or believe him by now, listen.
This dog wasn't a problem. It didn't bite anybody. After he stabbed the dog to death and created these injuries, the dog bled to death. An hour later, he comes back to the same house to confront the female who now is home, sees what happened, and barricades herself inside, calls 911. And that's how...
Okay, so this guy went over there. She wasn't home. He stabs the dog to death. Then comes back an hour later. Up on her porch. This dude is clearly a lunatic. All visions of a dog aside, put your hatred for dogs aside. You see your neighbor across the street stab your cat, your hamster, your pet, whatever, to death, and then come back to your property an hour later. You would think that this was a lunatic. This guy is a lunatic, and he really sounds mentally ill.
We got involved. Operation Arrowhead took that complaint, and we started this investigation. And Sergeant White, who was assigned to the investigations of animal abuse and cruelty for this office in conjunction with animal control, these are the injury pictures. Check this out. Stab wounds.
Okay, no, I'm not going to show that either. They look mild. They look mild. And those of you who saw that link that I posted, you know why I say they look mild. They just look like regular holes, puncture holes. You can't even see nothing. All you see is like blood in the dog's fur, because the fur covers up the actual puncture hole. So all you see is bloody fur. Just go look at it yourself. Okay, it's not that disturbing, especially compared to what I look at on a regular basis. I posted a link in the community section.
Was dead, and he went there to do the same thing to her and walked away.
Now, that man probably did go over there trying to kill that woman. This dude, okay, he's not done. He's not done. He's not falsely accusing this man. This man is truly mentally ill.
I'll tell you what, Terry Key II has been convicted of. Number one, he's been arrested in the past 15 times. He's got convictions of sexual assault, aggravated assault, domestic violence, assaulting a police officer, resisting and obstructing, domestic violence, and he's on the sex offender registry. So you can't convince me or anybody else that there's not a direct connect between animal abuse and neglect, and I say it again, and animal abuse that ties into torturing, harming, and raping, destroying the lives of people. In fact,
now, I think this is dangerous. I think this is dangerous to try to put a face on dog abuse. I just think it's dangerous. Because then you basically turn a blind eye to other demographics. And based on what I've found, a huge portion of the people convicted of animal abuse, I mean, really, it's evenly mixed from what I can tell. But we'll come back to that later.
In fact, we did that story this year on Easter Sunday where we had a suspect shoot and kill a domestic violent.
Listen, this lets people who only hit dogs but don't hit humans off the hook. There are some people out here who don't go around smacking on people, but will smack their dog around to try to get it to be obedient. I've known people like that. Pretty much every dog owner I've ever known smacks their dog around. That's why they say it's usually men convicted of dog abuse. That's because men are more likely to use aggression and smack them around. And those men are hardly ever attacked. It is very rare to see a young man, owner of the dog, who was attacked. They smack them around. I will even say that most male dog owners smack their dogs around. And it's even more so if it's a pit bull, because you know everybody believes that you at least have to smack around pit bulls. You got to put fear in pit bulls. You can't just say that all of those people who smack dogs around also smack people around. I understand that there's a correlation there. It's easy to spot the people who smack people around because they will most likely smack animals. I get that, but that's not always the case. There's no way. There's no way. There's a reason why some men smack dogs around, because they understand that that's what dogs do to establish rank. And there's this new way of training where you establish yourself as the alpha. It's the method that Caesar used, many of these dog trainers use. You have to be the alpha. And when dogs fight for rank, they use aggression. It's some form of aggression somehow, some way. It's not always just, oh, I'll give you a treat or I don't give you a treat. Come on, man. Let's not act like violence is not a part of dog ownership. It most certainly is. Smacking dogs around is a part of dog ownership. It's in the culture. I don't care how many of these people you find online saying that, oh, it's the wrong thing to do. They're only saying that because they know a lot of people doing it. And when you see these behind these camera footages behind the scenes where dog trainers are training dogs, they're destroying these things. You remember that guy? He just picked the dog up and just slammed it, broke its leg. They are very violent. I've shown news reports. You can just look it up. Many cases where guys, everyday working people, they're not all street thugs and criminals. No, they're not all the trashy sector of society. Many of them are in the suburbs. Okay? Let's not pretend that only the poor people, the mentally ill people, and this guy is mentally ill. Listen to what else this guy did. The guy that he's talking about right now.
Victim right there on Facebook Live after he raped her at gunpoint.
No, he's talking about somebody else right now. Hold up.
We were on a hunt to find out where Key was, and he had fled the scene. And Sergeant White and the detectives here at the sheriff's office, we searched every day, and he knew we were looking for him. So on Halloween, October 31st, we have a deputy, Todd Summers, from the jail, not a police officer, working the jail, comes to the lobby to go get a Coke from the vending machine. He confronts, guess who? Key, who's in the lobby. He says, what do you need? Key starts this verbal engagement and takes a fighting stance against a deputy in the jail.
This dude is mentally ill. So he knew the cops were looking for him, and he strolls into the jail. Strolled into, what was it, the police headquarters? Wait a minute.
Says, what do you need? Guess who? Keep me to go get a Coke from the
Wait a minute.
We have a deputy, Todd Summers, from the jail, not a police officer.
He walked into a jail, right? Wait a minute.
October 31st. We have a deputy, Todd Summers.
Wait a minute,
from the
whoa.
Sheriff's Office, and Sergeant White and the detectives here at the Sheriff's Office, we searched every day, and he knew we were looking for him. So on Halloween, October 31st, we have a deputy, Todd Summers, from the jail, not a police officer, working the jail, comes to the lobby to go get a Coke from the vending machine. He confronts, guess who? Key, who's in the lobby. Says, what do you need? Key starts this verbal engagement and takes a fighting stance against a deputy in the jail. He comes to the Genesee County jail lobby after murdering a dog, after getting involved in a domestic, after having a...
This lunatic who stabbed the dog to death waltzed into the jail knowing that they were looking for him. Now listen, I'm a fair person. If somebody is being wrongfully accused, I'm one of the first who will point it out. But that's not the case here. We're dealing with a real mentally ill person. But my point is, okay, big deal. Why sensationalize it like this and whip it all into a story about dog abuse to make abuse against dogs seem even more, of a problem than what people think it is. Oh, this is the most horrendous type of crime that anybody ever do. This psychopath, this mentally ill person. Now, cops have to deal with crazy meth heads and crackheads and people like that. Crazy people all the time. It's really nothing new for police officers around this country. They deal with these type of people all the time. But don't, when one of them attack a dog, you turn it into this, oh, look at this. Oh, the face of criminality right here. The druggies. Oh, stop. Come on. Stop. We all know full well the hardworking people, the middle class, upper middle, people of all classes smack dogs around. Stop. Cut that out now. Cut that out. Now, one man's opinion. And I invited the sheriff to this live stream. Don't know if he's here. Okay, but let's continue.
Extremely violent past, and we have another encounter with the officers. A code green was called. That fight went to the ground. He was taken into custody. When he was in the interview room, he wigged out again. He threw chairs everywhere. He was charged with first-degree animal abuse, torture.
This guy, he walks into the jail and tries to get into a fist fight with one of the cops. He knows they're looking for him. And you waltz into the jail? Wow. Wow. Woo. That guy was high on something. He was high on something at the time. Okay?
Which is a 4-year felony, resisting and obstructing an officer, and malicious destruction of a property. He's in jail as we speak. Again, I show you that video to send a message home. That we just don't do these cases one after another and just close that chapter. We have reached our limit. And mark my words, not only are we going to do our investigations, but we're doing something about it. Durante Quantrell Johnson, 32-year-old male. He's got a 1.5-year-old pit mix. And I want to give a lot of credit to Jonna from MPAP, which is a Michigan Pit Bull Education. It's an active group that goes around with other animal activists. And John and her team on Sundays, they go around, they feed, and they warm, and they put...
This is a pit bull organization. Did y'all hear that?
And I want to give a lot of credit to Jonna from MPAP, which is a Michigan Pit Bull Education.
A pit bull rescue. Now, we're on a whole different territory now. He is a pit bull advocate.
It's an active group that goes around with other animal activists. And John and her team on Sundays, they go around, they feed, and they warm, and they put bedding down every Sunday. And they had notified animal control on a Sunday afternoon.
Okay, let me sum this up. That guy who he just held up, that photo, that mugshot, he tied a rope or a leash tightly around the dog's neck, and the rope started to cut the dog's neck. Okay, and they show images. I'm not going to show the images, but he continues.
And they are animal rights vigilantes for animals. They protect those that can't protect themselves. To everybody
he's talking about that organization, saying that they protect those that can't protect themselves, saying that the pit bulls can't protect themselves. The pit bulls can't protect themselves. Now, I'm not stupid. I wouldn't get on here and go buck wild. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've been working nonstop for the past well over 20 years. And I've done nothing other than work for a living. I don't have no criminal record. And I just want to respond to what he's saying. Okay, he supports pit bulls and he says that they can't protect themselves.
They're not only in the county, but in the state and the country that rise to the level to go out and take care of other people's animals. On a Sunday afternoon, I give you great credit and I join with you. And I promise you this, that we're not going to lose this fight. This individual was arrested. He was charged with first-degree animal abuse and torture. The dog was rescued by animal control. The vet has been able to save that dog. There were four.
You see what I'm saying? This strikes me as an attempt to sensationalize dog abuse and just make more people aware of it and make it seem like it's like the most important thing in the world. Nothing right now is more important than going after animal abusers, particularly people who abuse dogs. Pit bulls they are said to be the most abused of all dogs. And what that means is that more men believe that you have to smack pit bulls around because that's all they understand. They were bred to fight. So in order to establish yourself as the alpha, it has to fear you to some extent. If it doesn't, it's going to view you as a weak link in the pack and going to try to be your alpha. That's dangerous. A lot of men believe that this is what you have to do. I'm not telling people to do one or the other. I'm not even a fan of dogs. Don't own dogs, never would. I'm just telling you what people believe. And it just so happens that those young men are least likely to be attacked. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what none of the reports say. Here on this channel, I've covered more dog attacks than any one person I know of. Any one person I know of. The pattern that we've seen here is that the primary targets are women, children, women. After that, maybe before that, the elderly. Very, very rarely is it a young, strong man. So something's not adding up here. Something's not adding up here. Shouldn't the majority of the victims be? After all, don't they say that if you smack dogs around, you make the dogs more aggressive? that they're more likely to be violent if you smack them around, if you hit them? Just look that up. They say that everywhere. Oh, you hit on dogs, smack them around, that will make them more violent. Well, these young men not getting attacked.
Other dogs at the house that have all been rescued. We keep visiting these kinds of cases and seeing the same thing. And the message at the end of the day is this. When you see the direct connect between animal abuse and torture and that violence against individuals, there is truth to that.
Okay, wait a minute. But this lets off the hook the people who don't fall into that category. This narrative seems like it panders to the upper class. Sort of as another way of telling the world that, hey, people in the upper class who don't have a criminal record, we don't smack dogs around. We don't hurt dogs. We don't hit dogs. That's just not true. Many of the people in the suburbs, in the upper classes, they came from the bottom. And they brought many of those bottom ways. Some of it they can't get rid of. Come on now, this does not seem realistic to me. Am I alone here? I can't co-sign with that narrative.
And that when you see something, say something. When you hear a dog or you see any companion animal that's suffering, you call 911. Not only just the sheriff's office.
Okay, listen. I'm not going to even deal with what he values. I'm going to just say what I value and what I would like to see from a sheriff, from a prominent law enforcement officer. And I'm looking for him. I'm looking for one who is as passionate about their own kind as they are about dogs. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Because now I don't even think it's 1 million dogs that get physically abused in the United States every year. It's not even 1 million. They got statistics out here. You can find some pretty extreme statistics on pro dog websites. Of course, they're going to exaggerate statistics to make dogs seem like they're more abused than they actually are. You know, I think this is dangerous. Let me go to my PowerPoint here. And what I want y'all to notice is this pattern to do what you just saw. Look at this. This is the same sheriff. And this guy right here is holding up, did something to a dog. Convicted of dog abuse. And they're holding the dog up right here. Can y'all believe this goes on? I did. Look at, here's another one. Here's another one. This guy killed a dog. And it was a pit bull. Matter of fact, do you know this guy right here? He was a police officer in his police, if I'm not mistaken. Here, let's go. We're about to watch it. We're about to watch it right now. Now, on that video you just watched, he's just really pushing for harsher punishments against people who abuse dogs. It's all about dogs. Wait a minute here. Okay, it's just a video where he is going in on these dogs. Now, wait a minute here. Dog abuse. Okay, so a while ago, he was involved in another case. From what I can tell, he is known for having cases like this, where he gets up on a microphone, a podium somewhere, and he talks about these people who are found guilty of abusing a dog, hold up the photo of the people. Okay, look at this. Let me share this. I never knew that something like this would go on. This is news to me. Now, there's this one story that surfaced about some dog, some pit bull, I think. Yeah, it was in Michigan. Where is that? See, I don't think I can find it now. This dog in Michigan. Where is that? Hold on, I gotta find this. Oh no, he's into fitness too. Okay, I didn't know I was gonna go there. Is this it? Okay, let me see. Okay, I think this is. No, I can't find it. Of course, I can't find it. But I think this is dangerous, people. I think this is dangerous. Go back to my PowerPoint here. Hopefully I can find that before the end of this stream. I want y'all to look at some of the other people who are convicted of dog abuse. People who smack dogs around, I don't think look a particular way. They don't. Animal cruelty. This dog died. Now, if I were to just hold up photos of young white women, wouldn't that just be inaccurate? Like, as if you're trying to put a face on dog abuse? What about the people in the suburbs? What about people in the upper classes? They don't smack dogs around? People who don't have any history of smacking their husband or wife around. No history of violence towards people. I can't accept the idea that everybody who smacks dogs around also smack people around. Most people understand that dogs are not people. They're not people. And some of the smarter individuals, yeah, they'll smack a dog around. They're trying to get it to behave and whatnot. But not a human. Those people are guilty as well. Yeah, this guy was on the police force. With him, they were working together. He fired this guy. He adopted a pit bull. I think that was about to be euthanized. And as he was clipping the dog's nails, and the dog took a bite at him. He tied it up, taped its mouth, taped it up, drove it in the middle of nowhere, and shot it, killed it. Yeah, this guy. And then Cris Swanson fired him. So, even he was fooled. He was fooled. He thought this was an upstanding guy. He thought this was one of the good old boys. But he supposedly was the same type of evil villain as all the others. This proves people who smack dogs around don't look a certain way. They don't. They don't. That's all I'm saying. Another thing. Why such an outrage about dog abuse? When dogs themselves actually attack a demographic that is not attacked by anything else or anyone else. Dogs attack a specific demographic. That demographic is only attacked by dogs. Now, from time to time, you might have some lunatic parent or adult somewhere who harms a child. But for the most part, if kids are not attacked by dogs, they're not bludgeoned. They're not sliced and diced and cut all open. That's a different experience. That's worse than a spanking. That's worse than, I'm not talking about spankings. I'm talking about a attempted murder. Attempted murder. That's what dogs do. Their attacks they're trying to kill, especially when you're talking about pit bulls. Pit bulls don't bite to establish rank. They bite to kill. When they attack, it's to kill. It's not to put you in check. So I can't support any narrative that supports pit bulls. And having pit bulls around toddlers. No. And it's so extreme that just one of them, if it attacks, not even a big, strong man, he's going to have a hard time stopping it. That female who I was talking about, who I did the live stream about, my most recent live stream, she left a comment in the comment section, and she said that her boyfriend was wrestling with the dog as she went next door to get help. She said, I gave a wrongful story. She said, no, I ran next door, and while I was running next door, my boyfriend was fighting with the dog, trying to get my child free. And that's a problem. If he could have easily done it, you wouldn't have had to go next door. It would have took him a half a second. He would have stopped the attack. There would have been no reason to run next door. You ran next door because your boyfriend was unsuccessful. Just be honest. He was unsuccessful at neutralizing the attack. And you saw more and more blood. You feared that your child might bleed out, and you ran next door. All of these different ways of being dishonest, not telling the full truth, all to protect the image of dogs, that needs to stop. That needs to stop, because we can just study the nature of how these things attack, the time at which it took to stop the attack, which oftentimes when the cops show up, the attack is still underway. That proves that everyone who tried to stop the attack was unsuccessful, and you stayed unsuccessful for multiple minutes. So not even a man can neutralize the attack of one of these things. Let's talk about pit bulls. And this is in the county where he works. Where the police officers, we've seen this program. They bring the dogs to the kids to pet. Teach them that these things are harmless. I'm looking for that police officer who says, no, I don't think we're going to do that. because, hey, that thing might rip your face off. You don't have to do anything to it. It just might feel like ripping your face off. And it happens quite often. May not be a fatality, but it's still a near-death experience. It's a near-death experience. And a lot of people are traumatized. I posted a link. I don't know how many of you saw that link. Very gruesome images. I'm going to be careful, try not to show any here. But these victims, they get sliced up and diced up. The injuries are far worse than what we saw with that dog. That dog had been stabbed with, I thought, a screwdriver. And I'm not co-signing. I encourage people all the time. Everybody knows. I encourage people, don't go out attacking dogs, breaking the law, getting yourself in trouble. I've never supported the idea of dog abuse. But I don't support the idea of child abuse either. I can't co-sign with that. And I feel like it's child abuse having these things in our homes. Okay? Because, listen, we can guarantee if they're in our homes the way that they are, some 70 million dogs. There are more homes with dogs in the United States than with kids. A certain percentage of those dogs are going to attack someone's child, somebody's baby, somebody's, 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 13-year-old. A certain percentage of them are going to get attacked. The injuries are going to vary. Millions of you will just have a nip or whatever, maybe barely break the skin, or it does or it doesn't. You don't need to go to the hospital. You just wash it. That's millions. But what is that? That can be traumatic. A dog attacks you. Yeah, it nipped you, but it scared you half to death. You're only a child, right? I remember how easy it was to scare when I was a child. Everything used to scare me. And you swing a knife at a 3-year-old, yeah, it might not hurt them too bad, but isn't that just immoral? I can't tolerate that. I can't co-sign with that. No. Millions. According to estimate CDC, 4.5 to 5 million reported dog bites every year. 4.5 to 5 million every year in the United States alone. 800,000 ER visits. At least half children. 400,000 where they were injured so bad they need emergency care treatment. Hey, I can't co-sign with that either. I think that's a big deal. I'm looking for police officers to get up on the podium all around the country and talk about that. That could be anything. Stitches, you got a cut, puncture wound. You need emergency care treatment. 400,000. How many is that in a day? It's over 1,000. Over 1,000, 13 and under every year in the United States need emergency care treatment. I think that's a lot. I think that's a big deal. I think that's kind of crazy. That's very crazy. Look, I don't have kids, but if I did, man, ain't no animal gonna be in my home. No animal whatsoever of any kind. No, thank you. Now, if I did have a gerbil or whatever, if my child just insisted and, they wanted a little hamster or something, and I gave in, I don't know. But right now I'm saying no. But that is as far as I go. To bring a dog, a pit bull at that, something where it starts to attack, I can't stop it. No, that's a crime. That's against the law. Why isn't it applied? Whether you admit it or not, he is endangering himself. This dumb dog could just turn around and take a bite out of his torso. That's just a fact. And he don't have to do nothing to it. That's what dogs do. And we all know that. This is a gamble. So, based on the endangerment laws, isn't it a gamble if a child was in the home? That's a gamble too. So what I'm talking about is a mockery of the laws. I'm tired of seeing a mockery of the law. The law says that if you create a home that increases the chances of a child being harmed, you're guilty of endangerment. The scenario we hear most of the time is having a gun somewhere in the home. Loaded, unloaded, I can't remember which it is. But you got a gun inside the home somewhere. Oh, you're guilty. You leave it on the sofa, you're guilty. Child endangerment. Okay, I can get with that. Why doesn't it apply to a deadly creature with a mind of its own? Could you imagine if the gun had a mind of its own, like the dog, and could just fire simply because you looked at it in the eye? You stood up too fast. You moved too fast. This is how it happens. That female that I talked about yesterday, her daughter is said to have run past the dog and fell on the dog. Well, you shouldn't have a dog in your house to begin with. If you got a child, even if you don't have a child, you have no business with a dog in the house. We just heard about the story where two large women, a grown woman and her 13-year-old daughter, they were powerless against a dog attack. This is a violation of endangerment laws. Why doesn't it apply to dogs? And why isn't the lifelong mutilization, why isn't that a concern? Why isn't that as big of a concern as dog abuse? I just got some questions. I got questions. Now, I might have to set this video to 18 and over. I'm going to have to set this to 18 and over, because I saw this image that I want to share here. It's disturbing. Viewer discretion advised. I'm going to have to set this live stream to 18 and over. But I saw this photo today, and I was disturbed by it. This photo right here, or these photos right here, where this girl had been mutilated by a dog. And when they decided to show her after making a recovery, this is how they showed her. Made it a point to tell the world, yeah, a dog mauled her, But the dog ain't going nowhere. She's going to stay in harm's way. We're going to give that dog another chance. Mutilate the other side of her face, maybe. Yeah. I mean, what's going through these people's minds at times like this? Whoa, let's see if it can happen again. Whoa, I mean, what? Whoa, was that? That was exciting. Let's see if it happens again. And they show their kids off as if this is some type of badge of honor. That's really what this is. This is seen as a badge of honor among many dog lovers. Like, oh, we're so proud of you. You had your daughter was mutilated. She's scarred for life, physically and mentally, and you did not turn your back on the dog. And most importantly, they value that she is continuing to endanger her daughter. That is actually applauded. Okay? If there are no laws in place to prevent adults from doing things like this, what good are the laws? The sheriff mentioned protect those that can't protect themselves. Pit bulls can protect themselves. Pit bulls, they can protect themselves very well. You know who can't protect themselves? And especially they can't protect themselves from pit bulls is little toddlers, infants, babies. They can't protect themselves. You bring one of these mutants into the home, they have to deal with it. They have to live in terror. And some of them, their worst nightmare actually comes true. Some of them actually get mutilated. That's a very twisted society. Oh, we'll just take the chance anyway. Oh, if it happens, I hope she lives and we'll just get plastic surgery, and be like new. Really? So that bothers me. That to me is disturbing. He was very disturbed by these. There are a lot of them on YouTube where he's talking about these people who abuse dogs. He's like a dog abuse detective for the most part. Like I'm a dog bite detective. He's a dog abuse detective. He's very passionate about this. I'm just saying, as a person with a different passion, I'm wondering, where's the passion for what I got a passion for? Where is that? Where is that? This is just this numb, silent mutilization of toddlers. Yeah, that's a fun lifestyle. Oh, I can't wait to have kids so I can get 2 pit bulls and a German Shepherd. Bring it inside the home. People actually look forward to this type of lifestyle, despite the statistics that it creates, that it produces. Alarming statistics. 400,000 people in general going to the hospital for any one product, that product would be banned. That would be a failed product. It actually sent 800,000 people to the ER every year. I mean, whatever type of product you're talking about, it would be banned. It wouldn't have to cause serious injury. We've had several toys like that. They were banned. Why is it that dogs, the more attacks that they launch, the more freedoms they get? No banning, no restriction, no regulation at all. That's just confusing to me. Sheriff, police officers of the world, that is disturbing. And I'm confused. I'm honestly confused. Honestly. Now, again, y'all look at that link. I've shown a lot of crazy photos on this channel. This sheriff showed a photo of a dog that had been stabbed. I feel like that was nowhere near as disturbing as the images that you can find on your computer. The most disturbing injuries look like shark attack victims. And they were launched by these bully breeds. They only make up some 6% of the dog population. Yet some 65% or more of fatalities. I honestly think it's usually higher than that. They make up like 100% of severe mutilations. That's extreme. To be a defender of pit bulls produce extreme statistics. It's mind-boggling. The severity of the injuries they inflict is unbelievable. To accept the idea of having these things in society, that endangers the general public. That's not a way of protecting the general public. What about those people who get attacked? They develop xenophobia. What about them? What about the people who saw someone else get attacked? Traumatized individuals. What if they're not traumatized? You're still just putting them in harm's way. But worst of all, dogs, pit bulls, prefer to attack small targets. That includes your kids. That's why they attack kids at least 50% of the time. Kids only make up around 17% of the population. They attack 17% of the population over 50% of the time, and that's not a concern. That's not something to get on a microphone and talk about. To me, that's crazy. That's unbelievable. So I just don't get it. I don't agree with putting a face on dog abuse. I don't agree with putting energy into dog abuse. I mean, what are we talking about? Let's stop with this dog abuse thing. Most of the people who talk about this stuff, they eat all kinds of steak and chicken. You know, chickens are the most abused animals in the world. Some 50 billion chickens every year are slaughtered. 50 billion. These are animals. Let's cut it out. Almost everybody who talks about what somebody does, they're okay with the abuse of other animals. And in these slaughterhouses, these animals, they die slow. They're tortured as well. There are videos all over the internet that proves it. And you got some people in there who work there who are psychopaths, who loves to torture them some animals. That's why they got that job. That type of job will attract the people who abuse animals. So I can't co-sign with that. I can't go in gun-ho. And you know, most of all, you're talking about defending pit bulls. Pit bulls, the biggest offenders in the country. By far. The carnage that they inflict What about the victims? I don't understand why it's so important to treat dogs like they're more important. Why? For what? What is that going to do for us other than put us in danger? I listened to that video that I shared here, and I tried to share in his passion. I tried to feel him. Let me put it like that. I tried to feel him. I tried to feel where he was coming from. Feel his energy. Like, okay, he speaks strong, he's passionate, but I couldn't. They shouldn't even be in our society. They don't function like animals because they're not natural animals. They're not natural animals. You've made them dependent 100% on human beings. They're mutations. Mutations have no rightful place in nature. That's just the fact. The need to remove these things from society is bigger than it's ever been because the disease are at an all-time high, the infections and the attacks. Attacks are going up everywhere around the world. The last thing we need to do is bang on about how important it is to combat people who commit dog abuse. Yes, these are criminals. Yes, these people are mentally sick. But let's not sensationalize dog abuse and try to make it seem like it's some type of national emergency and, oh, be on the lookout. Here's our special hotline. Because what I see all around the country are institutions, rescues, all these different organizations being formed with dogs in mind, but don't see any of these organizations being formed with protecting young kids from dogs. Nothing else is out here attacking them. 400,000 a year sent to the hospital. Literally nothing else is attacking them. Do y'all know how many dog attack stories I have not reported on in the past 2 days? Some of you who keep up with the news, you know there is a whole slew of dog attacks right now to talk about. And this happens on a daily basis. 400,000 to the ER. I'm sorry. After dealing with that, I don't have the energy to worry about no dogs or no birds or nowhere, nothing like that. Until you can keep your own species safe, I don't want to hear nothing about no crusade to keep animals safe, especially when those same animals are the only creatures attacking our youth. Attacking infants? Are you kidding me? Anything willing to attack an infant don't deserve no praise and honor nowhere. All dogs are willing. Let's understand that. All dogs are willing. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Push come to shove, they will attack a baby or a toddler. And they won't feel no remorse whatsoever. Dogs can't feel remorse. I was just watching a dog attack story that surfaced, I think yesterday. And this woman from a shelter stood up there and said, we need to understand that dogs have feelings just like humans. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't feel remorse. If you can't feel remorse, how can you love? How can you love if you can't feel remorse? You have to be able to feel remorseful in order to love. Right? You have to be able to mourn if a loved one dies. If you kill a loved one. If you kill someone you grew up with, that you watched grow up. If you killed them and you didn't feel remorse, that proves you didn't love them. Right? Somebody walk up and say, hey, somebody you known your whole life just died. I don't care. And your point, would you think that person loved the deceased? Of course not. And it's a fact, a proven fact. Dogs can't feel remorse. It's impossible. Why are we going crazy over a creature like that? If you can't understand the complexity of love and remorse and guilt, feeling guilty of disrespecting or harming someone, even if it's just a stranger, if you can't experience those emotions, I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm not going to appreciate you. I'm not going to appreciate your attention because I know there's some motive behind it. And with dogs, it's food. I'm good. No, I'm not going to pretend that this emotionless, soulless, remorseless, I'm not going to pretend that this thing is in love with me. And especially if it's deadly and prefers to attack my child whenever I have one. So I'm sorry. We all have our own passions. We all have our own passions. Other people have theirs. And I don't need to bash their passion. And I'm not bashing his passion. I'm just wondering, where are the cops who are passionate about this problem? This is a problem. Anytime you're talking about hundreds of thousands of injuries, that's a problem. Hundreds of thousands every year in the United States. How many people do you think that is over the course of 10 years? Multiply 400,000 by 10. That's a lot of people. That could be new people every year. So over the course of a dog's lifetime, half the population could easily have been attacked. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? At the very least, pit bulls should be banned, and all of them should be spayed and neutered so as to drive them into extinction. And I'm going to stick with pit bulls on this video because it's irrefutable. Nobody can defend the presence of pit bulls in society. These creatures were bred to fight, to be aggressive, bred to be dangerous. They're only kept and admired because they're dangerous. All you have is a bunch of people flirting with danger. We all know that. We all know that. Let's stop playing dumb. The lifestyle of these people who own pit bulls, all bully breeds, they are playing with danger and they're getting off on it every day. They're taking a gamble. And many of them are doing it with kids in the home. That's against the law. That's against the law. How many times do I have to go over the endangerment law? I've gone over several videos. But police officers, they know the endangerment laws. They know what they are. Reckless endangerment laws, child endangerment laws. Dogs violate those laws. They, especially pit bulls. Like no other, pit bulls most definitely violate those laws. I'm having a hard time respecting the laws of my country if they're not enforced. What good are they if they're not enforced? We don't need to change no laws to ban pit bulls. We don't. We just need to follow the law. Okay, so I'm not offering any crazy theories. I'm trying to stick with the law. That's my argument. That's my complaint. Okay. And I can guarantee that there'll be future attacks. That's how guaranteed it is that these mutants will attack. There will be more tomorrow, the next day. Every week, you're going to hear about these things attacking someone's child right here in America. Several stories. So if we know it's going to happen, we can stop it from happening. You just have to say goodbye to dogs. Goodbye to dogs. They're not more important. They're not more important than us. Dog lovers in general, but mainly pit bull lovers, lovers of these large German shepherds, these big power breeds. We are more important than the presence of these dogs. You having these things in society is just a slap in the face. Slap in the face to our freedom and well-being. People are going to speak out against this until these things are removed from society. Okay? There's no bowing down. I don't want to listen. I don't care how passionate people are about dog abuse or nothing like that. I don't care how much they love pit bulls or that nonsense. We can't change the laws. You can't remove endangerment laws. You just can't do it. Not right now. Not ever. Going forward, you can't do it. The only thing we can do going forward is enforce the laws that we have. And that's the problem that we have in this country more than anything else. Yes. Yes. Yeah, animal abuse is accepted. That's a normal way of life. You got different coats with animal fur. Did y'all see recently somebody made a rug out of their dead dog? They made a rug out of their dead dog, head and all. They left the head on there. Yeah. People, we have leather items left and right. Of course, food. Let's stop with this. Why is it's so fake to me? Oh, somebody do this to an animal. Oh, stop. If you're concerned about animals, you're concerned about all animals, not just dogs. Not just dogs. And dogs are the most pampered, really the least abused. We systematically abuse other animals. Talking about farm animals, they're raised to be slaughtered. They can't even enjoy life as animals. Got to be livestock. Let's stop with that. I'm tired of this fake world and all this fakeness. I want to be real. That's what's going to make me feel high. If I'm being real in this world, being fake and putting up with stupidity, that dumbs your mind down. It truly, I think, deactivates some portions of your brain, makes you dumb. Wow. I felt a lot better about life when I was a lot younger. Being in this twisted matrix will just make you crazy. It will make you crazy. So I'm pleading to the people who making it twisted. And it's primarily these lovers of pit bulls. Primarily. After that, not long after that, is other dog lovers. Now let me get off of here. I've been on here too long. Let me finish the rest of my night. Hope you all have a good night and have enjoyed the rant. Sometimes these dog lovers get me excited, and I need to rant. And I hope to see you all on the next live stream as we continue with this crusade.